Hi guys. Hello, hello. I'm just pulling up my Instagram on my computer so I can see comments. Hello. Hello, hello. Welcome to Instagram Live. Hi. Hello. Oh, here he is. Hello. My kitten's playing. Of course, because I'm getting on Instagram Live that she's deciding now to play.
Hello.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. I'm just pulling up Instagram here so that I can see the comments a little bit better.
Nice.
All right. And now I just turned off the sound.
How are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Pretty good. The weather's a little weird, but you know, it's good napping weather.
Yeah. I took a ride to the apothecary to pick up some supplies. I'm going to have fun crafting.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah. Experiment.
Decided to change my background a little bit.
I like it. I like it. Hold on one minute. Let me just take this away from the kitten. Stop. Stop it. Goodbye. Sorry, she's always getting into something.
Hi, everyone. Hello.
Hi, everybody that's coming on. I love our crew. Woohoo! Our evening COVID crew.
I
decided not to change. Look at my sweatshirt. Can you see it? Is it reverse?
It's reversed, but I see it. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's a little Buddha. So I forgot that I was wearing it today as I was running errands, and people were like, "Oh my God, your shirt!" And I was like, "Oops." Yeah.
Thank you, Ashley. You know, I actually got this background on the beach. It's like a little shawl, but it's pretty, like, it's human size. I got it on the beach of Mexico 2 years ago. I had actually been in the market for like some kind of wall tapestry, and this guy came along with these beautiful, beautiful tapestry, and I was like, oh my God, I have to have it. So this has served as like my altar cloth. It served as my tarot card spread cloth. It served as now a background. I used to wear it when I do workshops. It feels magical. So I decided to put it up today.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. I absolutely love it.
Thank you.
I changed it up. Instead of my artwork behind me, I have like my bookcase behind me and then tapestry over my altar. So yeah, good. Well, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So as last week, we asked everyone what they wanted to hear about, and astral projection / astral travel came up as a topic. And I'm so thrilled that you stepped up and you're like, I want to talk about that.
It's exciting because it's something that I have really gotten into and experienced. I would say remember the experience more over the past couple of years, and have really worked on trying to develop the skill of either doing it at will or exploring a little bit more and different, I would say, different features, almost like a video game with, like, when you reach a certain level, you unlock a new level or a new skill or a new type of skill set. So it's very, 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 it's very cool. Just to give you guys a little history about, I guess to start off with, well, first of all, disclaimer, 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 disclaimer. I actually was going to make a sign that said disclaimer, but then I realized it was going to be a mirror view, and I just didn't have time to like try to draw it backwards. Okay. Remember that the astral realm, or anything outside this physical realm, is up there, over there, around there. And don't forget that we are grounded human beings. We pay rent, we pay mortgage. We're to be here in the present. So don't become like I used to be and always want to stay up in the clouds and far away to escape reality, because it can be used as a form of escapism, especially as a Pisces. Escaping to that realm and not dealing with the physical world. So always stay grounded and stay grounded and stay grounded and stay grounded. And that's my disclaimer for the preface of this.
That's a really good point, because we've met a number of people that like to try to live up there. But as Dina and I like to say, and Dina's got a funny way of saying it, it's like, listen, when we incarnated as human beings and signed our soul contracts, like, we agreed to be humans in this world. So right. We have to honor that and like live in the here and the now. As nice as it is to visit, you got to come down and like live here and be responsible. So I have you.
Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
As a Pisces, I'm responding to Miss Morris.
Yeah.
Morris. I was telling a friend earlier today, I am known as nap master flex. Like I can take a nap anytime, anywhere, and I think low key it might be narcolepsy, but I will never admit to that fully. But I can take a nap, and my dreams are like my way of like a vacation. It's just how it is for me as a Pisces. So yeah.
It was so funny because, okay, first off, let's time out. I'm Danielle, and I'm one of the co-owners of the Amityville Apothecary. For anybody that's new, welcome. Dina is my partner in crime. She's not on camera tonight. And David is my esteemed guest. He's one of our practitioners at the shop who wears many hats and has many skills. Tonight, he'll be speaking with us about astral projection and astral travel, but he also makes custom intention candles and beautiful herb blends and spiritual baths and oils. He also leads meditations for us. So like very, very gifted, beautiful soul David is.
Thank
And
you.
yeah, absolutely. We love you. You're part of our family. I'm going to have to take this ball away from this kitten. I don't know if you guys can hear it or not, but she's like a maniac. So if I get distracted, just carry on. But yeah, no, we've had a whole bunch of series of discussions. David's featured in quite a number of them. I will say I historically have not been a crazy napper, but I'm the type of sleeper that when I'm out, I could sleep through a party going on around. I go automatically into like a really deep sleep, and I know I go a lot of places. Like I know that I fly around. I know that I go into different realms. I know I meet up and, you know, communicate and visit with other people in other realms. I don't always remember it, but then I know that I've done it. So it's very, I'm like not very knowledgeable in the how to, but I know I've experienced it. So
Mostly everybody has had an outer body experience or an astral projection or astral travel moment. Oftentimes, either you don't remember it, or you might think it was a dream, or you might think it's your imagination. And as children, when we were children, we flew around and traveled a lot, unbeknown to ourselves. We pretty much was, as kids, we went to sleep, we were traveling. That's just because as children we're more open, our imagination is a little bit more wilder, our third eye is more open. There's no inhibitions, there's just no reservations or hesitation on anything. You sleep, your imagination takes over, and oftentimes you dream or travel, we don't remember it. And if you do, you're one of those special children that did and might have continued that practice going through your teenage years into your adult years. But I just wanted to define astral projection versus astral travel.
yeah.
Astral projection is like an out-of-body experience where like you physically, your astral body forms and you're able to like see, you know, your hands, see your body, and you're able to walk through the environment that you are in, that you've created. So everything is more high definition, everything is more realistic in the everyday sense of how you and I are looking at each other right now. Everything is more in high definition. You'll feel the floor, you'll hear sounds, you'll taste things, you'll feel things. It's more of a tangible type of experience because you're actually using your astral body form to walk through and walk around. Astral travel is when you don't use your astral body and your consciousness, part of your consciousness is projected out. And it's almost like an omnipotent kind of force where you can able to be at all places at once. You can like see things. You can, you know, like say for instance, you thought about visiting your friend who lives in Brooklyn. You kind of can send your consciousness over there. And, you know, sometimes you ever get that feeling where someone is like looking like, there's something in the room looking at you, or you kind of look around like, what's that? That's like the idea of like astral travel where someone could be like viewing you, like remote viewing. So
how would you define what your astral body is? Gina's asking.
it's like your light force, you're like your soul, like your essence. It takes on like a physical form in the astral world. So it's literally your body. Like, think of it as you see like in the movies or the cartoons or something where your soul lifts out of your body, like the light essence of you, and it takes the shape of a form of a human body. That is like your astral body. And that is what is happening during astral projection, because that astral body is walking through and experiencing the different levels of planes, which we'll get into that in a little bit, of the environment that you created or that you have traveled to.
It's so interesting, and I don't want to sidetrack, but it's so interesting in the way that you describe that. When I was younger in high school, my grandfather passed away, my mom's dad, and in his house in Brooklyn, on the day of his funeral, we had a reception. So there's this narrow, long staircase. It's very dark. And at the top of the stairs is a restroom. And his bedroom was to the right. And everybody was downstairs. So I like dashed up the stairs real quick because there's no light. And I looked to the right. And there at the end of the bed was a light figure standing. And
like an apparition of some sort. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just looked at him and like gave a nod because I wasn't afraid, but I knew that it was him. And like he just kind of stood there like a knowingness, and like it was just a sign to say like, hey, I'm good, I'm here. And then like I continued on and he went away, and it was just like a really beautiful visitation for like a moment. And the way that you described it, it just fit that exactly. So
yeah, a lot of people get kind of between like lucid dreaming, astral projection, and astral travel. It's kind of weird because you can use the concept of lucid dreaming to kind of initiate astral travel or astral dreaming. I'm sorry, astral projection. Lucid dreaming is like kind of like being aware that you're in a dream and controlling your environment. I will say that it takes some form of imagination to initiate all of this. It's imagination and intention. To initiate the environment that you're looking to create in this particular lucid dreaming or in this astral projection or astral travel. So lucid dreaming is like a gateway to the travel or to the projection, because now you're the master of your environment by creating what you want in that dream. And then you can kind of take that and jump with it. I'm not a huge person of, I kind of skipped over lucid dreaming. It's funny because I thought lucid dreaming was astral travel or astral projection, and I worked very hard on trying to lucid dream. But every time I would discover that I was in the dream and that I was like, oh my God, it's a dream, turn into a bird, I'd wake up. I get too excited. So, yeah. So me and lucid dreaming doesn't necessarily work. I will give you a little history about myself as far as like astral travel and projection. I used to do it as a child. And the only reason why I kind of remember it, it took kind of like a near-death experience for those memories to come back. And that's how I kind of somewhat discovered that there was something more than just being here on this physical realm. So just, quick, long story short, I mean, really stupid decisions. I had a drug overdose. I had mixed prescription drugs and alcohol, and I was dying. Like I'll admit. And I just remember everything like fading to black, like just fading to black. And all of a sudden I started getting these like rush of memories of when I was a child, but they weren't like memories of like stuff that happened like with my family or with, birthdays. It wasn't like it was like an interesting flash before my eyes. It was like everything that I had did in another dimension or realm. And it was like characters and people that I met and talked to. And my neighbor behind me, we were best friends. She passed away when we were older. But we were like brother and sister, very best friends. We used to always tell each other every day that we will meet each other in our dreams. And I remembered us like meeting up in dreams, going on bike rides and going through these weird, cosmic like trails, all these things. And I'm like, this is weird. So after I survived that whole experience with, you know, the whole overdose and stuff, I started researching about near-death experiences and like what happens to some people. Some people get the flash before their eyes. Some people have memories that surface when they were a child that they may not remember. And so that's when I started really, really diving deep in lucid dreaming and astral projection. I didn't know astral projection and astral travel at that time, but more like lucid dreaming. And then as I got older and into my 20s and late 20s and early 30s, and now that I'm 40, I kind of understood exactly what it was. And it was traveling. It was projection because, you know, over the last 2 years, I've been able to kind of do it more at will, you know. And it's funny, I didn't know what was happening to me as an adult. I don't know if anybody can attest to this or understand, but I actually went to the doctor because I thought I was going crazy. Every time I'm in the bed at night, before I fall asleep or as I'm falling asleep, I would get this really strange vibration. Well, I'm calling it a vibration now because now I know it's a vibration, but I used to get this really strange electrical current effect through my body.
Yeah.
And I thought I was having either, you know, a heart attack or a stroke, or maybe something was going on with my heart or something nerve related. And for the longest time, I was scared to say anything because it's like, this is weird. And I couldn't just really describe it to anybody. So finally it got to the point where it got really, really intense and really crazy. And I felt like if I had surrendered to this vibration or the sound that I would hear, that I would, for lack of a better term, drown, if that makes any sense. I felt like I would be overcome and like either my heart would stop or I'd stop breathing. And I was so deathly afraid of like what was going on. So I went to the doctor. They did EEGs, EKGs, echoes, nerve tests, you name it, everything, blood work. Only thing they told me is like lose some weight. Like that was like, they couldn't determine like exactly like what was going on. And it wasn't until a couple of years ago, I was reading on someone's Instagram post about their out-of-body experience with astral projection and travel. And they were like, does anybody else get freaked out when they get that high-pitched vibration noise and feeling? And I'm like, what? And I immediately DM'd him. And I was like, wait, you experienced this too? So I'm reading through all the thread. All these people are experiencing somewhat similar kind of effects. Either they hear a high-pitched noise in their ear or they feel like their body's shaking and tremoring and all this stuff. And I was like, oh my God, I'm not alone. And he literally wrote back to me. He's like, child, he was like, let go and ride the wave. So I was like, all right. So I remember texting my cousin that night. And I was like, girl, I'm about to ride the wave. If you don't hear from me tomorrow morning, please, like, you know, throw away my computer and here's my debit card PIN number. Like, cause I was like, I don't know if I'm going to come back or not.
Oh my God.
So that night I surrendered, and it was that point where I realized that, oh crap, like I'm coming out, that vibration is the separation of my physical body and my astral body, or my light essence or my soul coming out of my body. Now, of course I freaked out, but I kind of surrendered to it. And then when I realized what was happening, I stopped. So then I started doing
that's also when you realize like your physical body is anchored here on Earth, and that you're tethered. So that's why you need to stay grounded in order to fly. And so, yeah. So I walked into the shop a year after that experience. This is back in November when you guys, not this November, the year before when you guys first opened. And I remember talking to Dina about my experience and what I was experiencing. And she's like, well, number one, you need to be grounded. So the first thing she had talked to me about was getting a grounding stone, which was, you know, good old piece of black tourmaline. So she told me to keep this at the foot of my bed, and that to know that you're never going to float away. You're not going to, you know, be like the movie where with George Clooney and what was her name? Sandra Bullock, where they get disconnected, their line gets tethered, gets cut off, and they're in space. I never saw that.
But it's like, but it's not like that's not going to happen. So I had to trust and believe that I was anchored and still tethered here on the physical world. And that, you know, I still could. So with practice and with a lot of research and researching different people who talk about astral projection and travel, I started actually being able to leave my body. It started very smally, you know, very small, leaving my body and look at my, you know, getting half my body out then finally getting my full body out, looking back at my body, and then walking around my bedroom and doing certain things. And eventually it became more of an adventure each time. So that's like my history of astral travel / projection.
Now, would you say that repetitive and consistent meditation helps open you up and prepares you for those phases and stages of what you're discussing? Because that doesn't just happen unless you like, I don't know. I mean, it's interesting because what you said about the electrical currents before you go to sleep. My former husband would lie next to me, and he knew I was falling asleep because all of a sudden I would get like jolts of electricity through my body, and he would call them shooting stars because my body would be at rest and I would start dozing off, and then I'd be like, like it was almost like it was like my hand was unattached, and it was just like
it's like a jolt,
muscular little like jolts, and then I'd be out. So I think it's that in between the consciousness,
right?
And then I know that I was taking off because I would wake up and be like, I was just flying around. It's like I knew that I felt light. It's just my recall of it. So this is so fascinating to me.
Like through the research and stuff, I learned, I developed a deep meditative practice. Believe it or not, Yoga Nidra actually is probably the go-to, I would say, for anyone that's looking to possibly find a hack to kind of jump into it quicker. Would be Yoga Nidra, because the idea is your body falling asleep, but your consciousness staying awake.
Right. Yoga,
and as you know, Yoga Nidra is the practice of yogic sleep, which is making sure that your body is physically asleep, but also allowing your consciousness to remain inactive. And it's weird because they say it's in that space between consciousness and unconsciousness, or sleeplessness and consciousness, is where the healing at. And I believe that is a form of, there's an astral layer there that you're going to go in to get whatever it is that you need at that moment.
And there's actually a lot of comments that are affirming all of this. So, saying Reiki does that. Yes, I'm a Reiki master, and definitely the more steeped and practiced I did my Reiki with regularity, it would become more and more intense. Absolutely. Because we're all subtle energy. It's all energy.
Right.
Soul and Moon is saying that happens to me before I fall asleep, shooting stars. Yeah. And we will have you do Yoga Nidra for all of us by the time we're done, or when we reopen, because I love it.
Believe it or not, a lot of the yogis who are like really heavy into the Yoga Nidra actually use Yoga Nidra to get to that state of consciousness where either they need to resolve things internally, or they need to meet somebody and talk to that either may have passed on or something. It's that layer of space is what you need at that moment. There are a lot of different theories behind it. It's almost like there's no set Merriam-Webster kind of definition, but there are some layers of astral planes, or different layers that you go through. Some people say there's 7, some people say that they're 4. I can't really tell you about all the layers. I can only tell you what I've experienced myself.
Sure.
So the first layer, as I like to call the physical layer.
I'm going to look for something as you talk more.
The physical layer is the plane that's closest to Earth. I don't particularly like this particular layer. And when you start out with astral projection and travel, this is where a lot of, let's just say, spirits that are still kind of earthbound or a little lost are in this area, and also low vibrational energy, because it's here, it's down here.
Right.
So you might, not to like really scare anyone, but before anything before I start, I want to preface this. You have the ability to set your intention and which, you know, my saying is intention trumps everything. If
Mm-hmm.
you don't want to deal with any of that low vibrational stuff, simply just say, I don't want to deal with it. Just like when you're dealing with anything in spirit, calling your protection, calling your guides, calling your angels. I don't want to see that. And you kind of skip over it. I learned the hard way. I didn't know I could do that until after the fact. So
Right.
it's almost like I'm walking. It kind of reminds me of like, you know, in like Lion King, where he tells Simba, don't go to the Badlands.
Yes.
It's almost like the Badlands. It's very shadowy. It's very desolate. It's very dark. It's very shadowy. It's very like
I think
desert.
the Disney movie Anastasia. I don't know
Yes.
if you saw that.
Yes.
That creeped me out with Purgatory. I'm like, what's
And
going
it's
on?
like, and it's like really weird because it's like, well, and you're like, and of course, you know, me being like curious in nature, I'm like, you know, what is this? And it's like, you know, and you get shaken, and then you kind of like jump out, and you're like, okay, that was scary. I'm not doing that again.
So go there.
Right. And it wasn't until I learned that you can kind of skip and bypass that and just say, I don't want to deal with that. And then you have another layer where it's like, where I would consider like your dream layer or like your lucid dreaming layer, where so when you're in the physical layer, everything is kind of like mimics the earth. Everything that you see looks like what you're seeing now, with the exception of some things may move around. Shadows may move around. You might see things move around. Then you have the dream layer, I feel like, where the lucid dreaming can happen. Everything is more malleable. Like everything is more fluidic. You can kind of look at something. You could say, okay, I want that bottle of soda over there to turn into an eagle. You know, everything is kind of like, you know,
cool.
because you're in a lucid dreaming phase now. So you have control over what you want. And then you have the next layer, which is the actual, which I consider like the actual astral plane, where now you're in an area where now it's like, I want to say like almost pure spirit per se.
This is driving me nuts. What I'm looking for, not trying to be rude, what I'm looking for, if you don't know where it is, I don't know if I could find it right now because I'm too distracted right now. Behind me is a huge bookshelf. It's 5 feet by 5 feet, and I love books. But it's Gray. Alex Gray is an amazing artist, and he, if you have not seen him, I recommend everybody look him up. His artwork is incredible. It's like very trippy. He used like all sorts of LSD throughout his career, he and his wife, to like but even my Reiki master says like his artistic depiction puts onto paper all of the different subtle bodies and energies, and it's so amazing because he actually has like painted out in his art the astral body, the physical body, the male body, the female body, but like the merging of union and the energetic subtle bodies that come, like it's unbelievable.
I have to Amazon
after
it.
This, check out Alex Gray's artwork, and you can look at all different kinds of like these various layers, and it's really beautiful when you think about it energetically, because some people are like, whoa, that's like crazy and must, like, it is crazy, but it's like brilliant.
Does he do the Tool albums? Because if he does, then his artwork is amazing. Yes. I love Tool.
Yes.
So their album artwork is amazing.
Yeah. Well, wait until I have numerous coffee table books. There's someplace in this bookshelf that I will try to find, but I highly recommend checking out his art.
Nice.
It's really amazing.
Nice. That's good to know. That's good to know. I'll definitely look them up. So I feel like going from the first layer to the second layer to now the third layer, I feel like the astral plane is kind of like where I kind of hang out at the most. And that's because it's above all the crap, but there's like other layers I feel like I might have gone to, but maybe I'm not ready to. And I feel like that's more like closer to spirit and closer to all that up there.
Maybe.
I feel like where I end up at, I feel like it's the happy medium between spirit and where I'm at, where they're comfortable enough to come down to me, and I'm comfortable enough to come up to meet them. It's almost like mediumship. Right. Yeah. It's almost like mediumship. Mediumship, you got to come up, but you can't go all the way up. They come down and kind of meet you at a certain area. You raise your
vibration, and then they come down and lower the vibration.
Right.
Now, for the folks on the live, David is definitely a Pisces / part alien. So he wears a Moldavite necklace and a Hercules diamond and a meteor. So
Yes.
thank God we ground him because he flies around in outer space.
So, so in my travels or my projection, a lot of stuff comes to me in that realm. Whether it's recipes, whether it's messages from loved ones, if I want to meet somebody and talk to them. The only weird thing that that happens with me in that particular level, for some reason, I don't talk to them face to face. It's through a mirror. And I'm thinking that that's just another window into maybe that next layer that I physically can't vibrate up to. I've
heard that that's actually like not a common thing, but like mirrors are very important within that kind of like communication. Yeah.
It's interesting. So to go through what happens in this particular level, like say for instance, I know Lisa Marie just asked recipes. Like for instance, last night, a friend of mine's father has had the coronavirus for about 2 weeks now. About 2.5 weeks, and he was actually getting better. But I think he rebounded probably because he probably got back on his feet a little too quick. He was taking one of my elixirs that I make, which is like the citrus, all the citrus fruits and stuff. And it really helped him significantly. But then I think he stopped taking it and he was like, oh, I'm better now. And then he started getting worse again. And he started like having like a really high fever. So immediately I was like, all right, next step of line defense is I'm going to make an elderberry recipe, which I already have down to pat. But during last night, you know, in my travels, you know, somehow, some way wound up in like a remote, like village somewhere in the Amazon rainforest is somewhere. And I see like a bunch of children and adults sweating, and they're laying on like these little makeshift cots and they're sweating. And I turn to the witch doctor guy and I go, what are you doing? He says, they all have fevers. And he's like, I'm breaking their fever. And I'm like, what are you giving them? He's like, moringa. And I was like, oh.
That keeps coming up for me. In the past 24 hours, this is now the third or fourth time moringa has come up for me. So interesting. Oh, I'm sorry.
So I asked him moringa and he's like, yeah, make some tea and have them drink it. It'll help bring the fever down. So of course I come out and I wasn't really sleep because I was like, okay. So immediately I go, well, let me Google this and see if this is the legit deal. So of course I Googled it. And one of the things I saw is that moringa tea is good for bringing down fevers naturally. And I was like, oh, wow. So, you know, it was 3 o'clock in the morning. So I told my friend this morning, I was like, just in case, you know, if your father's fever doesn't break, you know, I have some moringa tea. Let's have him drink a couple of cups of moringa tea, you know. So things like that happens there.
So the moringa tree is the tree of life.
Yes.
So
yes.
That is the actual.
Which is crazy in itself too, because you think about the concept of the tree of life.
Yes.
And there's so many like, I don't even know, like foreshadowing and all these themes and metaphors and motifs and lessons and everything that you normally would get in a novel or a story or some kind of you get it all there. And it's like, even after you come out of it and you write everything down and then like 3 or 4 days later, you have an epiphany. Like for instance, we just had an epiphany, the tree of life. Like, you know, I didn't think about that last night. Yeah, right. You know, and it's like you start having all these like different epiphanies.
It's like a Lion King moment.
Right. And it's crazy. And then also too, in that particular area that I'm in, you know, if there's a loved one or someone that I want to connect with, you know, I ask before I lay down, like, okay, tonight I want to talk to my grandmother.
Right.
Or tomorrow I want to do this. And it may not happen immediately all the time, but I do feel like if you keep asking, eventually it'll come. But whenever I talk to someone that's passed, for some reason, it's never a face-to-face. It's never a face-to-face moment unless it's my grandmother. But my grandmother's my gatekeeper too. And she also kind of walks beside me. So I get that. But anybody else, I have to talk to and I have to show you.
My grandma's my gatekeeper too.
I have this full-length mirror that sits in my living room that this is the mirror that, so what I do is in my travels, I get out my body I come out my bedroom, I open the door, I come downstairs, and the way that mirror is perched, I never come down into the living room. I stay on the steps, I look into the mirror, and everybody that I need to speak to or see is in that mirror.
What?
It's the strangest thing.
That is.
So after a little research and stuff, I found that, there's more layers of the astral plane, which, the next one would be like the barrier, which is between the astral and then like above. And then the above layers are like where the paths and like realm of spirit, where the angels and everyone would kind of chill out. And I don't expect to be able to shoot up and go chill with the angels. I don't think I have that right.
No, stay here with us. You're good.
Well, I'm not trying to go, so, I'm not trying to shoot to the angelic realm. I think that it's their way of meeting me. And I guess, I think maybe it might be, I don't want to say for my own safety, but maybe that's just how my psyche, interprets that.
Well, it's a little, it's boundary. So it's like you can glimpse, you can look, they can communicate, but then you got your side and they got theirs.
Well, I told the story, but I think I told your story, and you guys are the ones that told me about Hecate, how I was the perpetual line crosser, and I wanted to know more, and I wanted to know more, and wanted to know more, and was doing things, herbs, teas, spells, and all these things, trying to access this door that I never know that I'm not supposed to go through.
Yeah. And
that's when Hecate decided to bite my arm and was like, no, we're not doing this. Mm-hmm. So there are different levels to that. And then also, hold
on one sec. There's some folks mentioning that that they've been seeing having dreams about Native Americans, and a crazy dream about like drumming and chanting coming down the street with the indigenous tribes, and they very well could be spirit guides.
They could be guides, or they could be part of your ancestral lineage you may be unaware of. You don't have to be Native American to have a Native American guide. The interesting thing about it is that your guides can be anything that you can potentially imagine. I know somebody whose spirit guide is Yoda.
Well, one of Dina's is Pocahontas.
Really?
when Carrie said, "Oh, who are your spirit guides?" and she said, "Oh, one's Pocahontas," and Dina's like, "Get out of here!" But actually, I think one of hers is Pocahontas.
Because
mine's an old indigenous medicine woman that's Incan.
Because
I feel her.
Our mind is such a powerful tool and such a wonderful resource that sometimes, our imagination can create a physical representation of something that we need, and it relates to us in something that we know, like Yoda or Pocahontas or Marvin the Martian, like something, it's how our minds process it. Mm-hmm. So we talked about the layers, we talked about the difference between astral travel and projection. I just want to go over a quick technique. Each person is going to be different. But 4 easy steps. Hey, Kathy. 4 easy steps. Number 1, you want to lie down and get yourself very, very comfortable. And you want to relax and really tune into your breathing. You can get into the alternate nostril breathing, but really just lay down, be quiet, and just relax and start to really, really, just relax and breathe and relax. And then you want to now start tapping into your imagination and start imagining yourself walking out, imagining yourself coming out of your body and walking around, and what that would feel like, how your floor would feel to you, how the things you touch would feel, how the things with sound you'd feel, all these things. And then once your body starts to get a little sleepy and you start to understand that you're in between, drifting between sleep and waking, is when you start to make the intention that your body's falling asleep, but your consciousness stays awake. And then if you get it right, then you start to hear this weird whooshing sound. And the only way that I can describe the sound to you guys to understand, when you yawn and you get to the apex of that yawn, you get that whoosh sound in your ears.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like that all the time.
Mm.
Like you start to hear this whooshing vibration kind of thing, and then you kind of then let go and kind of pop up. You
I'm
know,
gonna try this tonight.
it takes practice. Now, there are things that we can do to help assist us with these things. We have certain crystals that we can use, you know, such as iolite, you know, which is another great stone for astral travel and projection. We have labradorite, which is the stone of magic. You know, labradorite's really good. You have quartz, which is, you know, raises your vibration naturally too. Moldavite, of course, which is what I'm wearing.
Yeah.
Moldavite, and I have meteorites and a Herkimer diamond. So this is like a rocket ship for me.
It's like you're flying. Flying.
We have apophyllite,
Yep. Apophyllite. Mm-hmm.
apophyllite,
Yeah.
and then we have ametrine,
Nice.
which are stones that I keep kind of by my bed, or I don't keep them under my pillow anymore. They're by my bed.
Now,
But in
I'm
addition,
wondering, I think scolecite would be awesome. Right?
I have scolecite too. I just couldn't find it. I think it's in one of my pillows.
Mm-hmm.
Scolecite to me is more gentler.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like it's almost like someone wrapped me in blankets and then kind of put me in a roller coaster up, like I'm cozy going up.
Big poofy pillows flying around like feathers. So it
But
reminds me of
it's
feathers.
like this is like throwing me in a rocket ship and like sending me to the moon.
You're up. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's the silicate. It's quartz. Well,
I'm just gonna go into the thingy here. Known to love, the whoosh is alive. No, known to love, the whooshes are that vibration. It's when your body is starting. It's when your astral body is starting to separate from your physical body, and it's that vibration. It's the most. I didn't know for a long time what that sound was and what that feeling was, and it was crazy. And Chantel Thompson says, possible crystals disappear. Yes, crystals disappear all the time.
Yeah, it does.
They
Sometimes
sprout
the
legs and
fairies
walk
get
away.
them. Sometimes like they just go missing. They do.
They just go missing. It's that kind of thing that happens. And then of course, always keep yourself grounded with a grounding stone, whether it's tourmaline or garnet, something that you want to keep yourself grounded, because you don't want to, you know, stay in the clouds too much. In addition to all of that, we also have oils that you can use as well. I mean, we have our third eye oil that is sold at the apothecary,
Yeah.
which I blended. And here has, this is a very high vibrational oil that contains blue lotus, mugwort, celestial seed, all the things that are known to help open up the third eye. And also anise and all that good stuff that helps open up everything.
How do you apply that, David? Tell everyone.
I actually put a few drops on my finger, like so, and then I just rub my third eye. And I go to sleep. Sometimes I'll take like a tea light, which I have one burning here, and I'll drop a few drops in it as well. Just to kind of, you know, candles are a way to kind of fine tune your intention.
Right.
The shop also carries, the wording is off, but moldavite oil. Yep. It is this one is an essence that made with moldavite. So this is actually indirect method. So the oil was infused with, not infused, but
the gem essence. Yeah.
The gem essence of moldavite. Oh, the first oil is our third eye oil. And this one's, both of these oils are sold through the shop. This one I blended myself.
It smells delicious. I love that oil.
And the animal oil. And then you have different herbs that you can do, like a tea. Disclaimer. Before you drink anything tea-wise or medicinal-wise or anything, please check with your healthcare practitioner to make sure that any of it doesn't interact with your medications or with yourself. Coming back to it, mugwort is another herb that's known to help induce lucid dreaming and that type of astral state. Also, as well as valerian root, which helps relax you and kind of allows you to kind of drop your guard and kind of flow free. you know, if you're not able to achieve that state per se with just natural relaxation or with yoga nidra, you can use crystals to help assist you. You can use the oils to help assist you. And then there's also different meditations that you can find. Kathy, I took Kathy's mediumship, I'm sorry, psychic development classes, and one of the guys that she listens to as far as meditation is concerned is a guy called Tony Stockwell.
Yes.
And Tony Stockwell has a bunch of albums, CDs and releases that that refer to either, you know, trance meditation but it's basic like meditation that allows you to kind of just drop it in ground and kind of release.
Right.
Is really good to listen to. He really guides you through relaxation and then kind of separating yourself from your physical body, which is pretty cool.
Right.
There's another guy that I sort of became obsessed with a little bit as I was learning about astral travel and projection. Is a guy named Ryan Cooper.
I don't know him.
He's a guy from the UK, and he can sometimes is a little far-fetched, but I don't think he's too far-fetched. He does a lot of astral travel, a lot of spirit realm kind of like videos. He's the one that I think he, one of the techniques that he had to know when you're actually not in a dream versus astral projection travel is by a method of putting something under your pillow. And it's something that has to be has like a tactile kind of feel to it. So I have an old BlackBerry that has the keyboard buttons that you're the device that you got to type, because you just don't want to say, oh, there's a cell phone under my, because what he has you do is when you come out of your body is to go under your pillow and pull out what's there, and then you have to type a word. It's like the way of connecting like your mind with the astral projection to kind of, now at that point you realize, oh, I'm out of my body.
I had heard something similar about like putting something on the ceiling.
Yes, you could do that too.
Okay, yeah.
So for me, I have a BlackBerry I put under my pillow, and so when I pop out of my body, I go under my pillow and I pull the phone out and I type the word love. It's just love. That's all I write, love. And when I do that, it's something I've done repeatedly. So now my mind knows, oh, you're. So then I go on and do what I want to do. Now I've through my travels, you know, I've learned to like cut lights on without touching the light switch, opening the door. You know, I've left the house. I tried to spy on my neighbor. I think his wife astral projects, so she met me at the window, was like, no, 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 no.
Eric astral projects.
And to this day, she does not like me.
Really?
No, she does not like me. And I remember leaving and I'm like, oh, I want to check on my hot neighbor. Like, I want to go peek and see what's going on. I remember walking through my bedroom and walking through the window and floating through to their house, and I get to their bedroom window and I'm starting to walk through, and she's this little short 4'9", you know, Salvadorian lady, and she's like, no, 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 no. And she kind of put her hands out and pushed me back into my house. And I kid you not, every time I see her, she scowls at me. She scowls at me.
That's amazing.
And I'm wondering,
yeah, go ahead.
And I'm wondering if she, like, you know, does it herself and was like, you know,
if she's aware of it, or if she just is giving you the stink eye because she feels funky.
I don't know, but
it's so funny because I was talking to Dina once, and she was up in the Reiki room giving a treatment. And when she gets into the thick of her treatment, like, she has, you know, all sorts of spirits coming through or messages coming through or whatever. She's in her groove. So she's talking to me after. She goes, so Eric came into my treatment. And I go, what? Eric? She goes, yeah, here I am doing my thing. And then all of a sudden through the window comes Eric, and I see his head popping through. I'm like, bye. I like pushed him out the window. I go, you pushed Eric out the window? She goes, yeah, he was astral projecting into my Reiki treatment. So I said, get out of here.
You know, I can't ever go into their house. Like, I've tried. I can't look into her house. I'm blocked. I think
They're saying she probably hangs garlic, Salvatore.
She's probably a bruja or something. Who knows? But it's just funny. Like, her husband's really nice. He's sweet. He'll talk to me, but she always kind of gives me this look like I know what you did last summer kind of look. It was funny. It was really funny.
No,
And
Chantal was saying that she falls asleep after meditation. You got any tips for her on that?
she falls asleep after meditation.
That's what she wrote.
Well, you probably want to change the type of meditation that you're looking into. You might want to do a meditation that keeps your mind active, whether that's repeating mantras, or counting, or doing. A lot of the yoga nidra scripts are about discovering each point of your body, and it also has you count with your breath, like backwards from 54. So it keeps kind of your mind active, and that way you kind of stay awake and your body kind of falls asleep. So it is something that you have to practice to do, because a lot of us, there's some people that can literally, as soon as they lay down on their mat, they're out.
They're out. And also the voice of the person guiding the meditation. Sometimes different voices. One can just put you out like a light. So then maybe try a different practitioner that's guiding it.
But definitely look into Yoga Nidra script. You probably want to start out with like a half-hour script. You can find them on like YouTube or I think Spotify, and listen to the cues and do it like in your bed and listen to these cues and see how that might keep your mind active and allowing your body to fall asleep.
There's a whole sidebar conversation going on about Broha, which is hilarious.
Sorry.
Say how much I love that the whole community has like has such bonds and friendships now. It's like, how cool is this, right?
But so I now and I have to figure this part out. I think I figured it out. So it's easier for me to pop up my body during the day when I nap.
Okay,
I think because I'm not as sleepy and not as tired versus at night, you know, I'm exhausted, and usually when I get in bed, I'm knocked out. So usually usually my afternoon naps or in the morning when I like wake up and then I go back to sleep again, is when a lot of that happens, you know, for me. And it's weird because like I take especially now working from home, I take a nap at lunchtime every day. Like I literally get in my bed and I'm like out, like I'm out and about traveling.
That's beautiful.
You know,
I love that. What better time to do it than now, right?
Right. And I come back and I'm like, and I'll text my cousin. I'm like, oh yeah, so I experienced this and I saw this, and she's like, oh, let me guess, you took a nap. I'm like, yeah, I took a nap. You know, so it's very interesting. You know, I encourage. You know, I just want to say that you know, whether you believe it's real, it's not. It's as real as you want it to be. You know, astral travel / projection has been cited in the Bible for those that might be religious or have a little biblical upbringing. There's in 1 Corinthians, I think the 12th chapter, verses 1-4, I want to say, Paul talks about the heaven's heaven, which is a term where I want to say the ascended masters all like congregate and hang out at. And that there is, you know, he was saying that he knew somebody that traveled there, like traveled to that. He basically talks about, well, first of all, that whole chapter talks about all the spiritual gifts.
Okay.
But that one particular part discusses about reaching this point in heaven or the heavens, and they call it like heaven. It's like a state where like all the ascended masters are like chilling out at. They're like up there. So I mean, it even references back to biblical time. And then you have the Native American shamans who, you know, they do travel. That's where they get their medicine from. It's through dreams and traveling. And then even through, you know, paganism and Wicca and everything, even every form of life, every form of religious doctrine, whatever, everybody has their form of what they call astral projection or astral travel. It's just what you call it, and it's what you believe in.
Sure.
So, it's something that, you know, it's something to try out. I mean, it's cool. I mean, and if you have children, you know, if your children say, oh, I went here and went there, you know, it is part of their imagination, but Probably most likely, they probably just out and about flying around.
They probably are.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. My sister does this too. So he's adopted this from her. Well, it runs in our family, but he sleeps with his eyes open. And it's very weird. Like, it's weird if you're not used to it. And I've had friends be like, whoa, he sleeps it. And I'm like, yeah, I know. And like, but I have full on conversations while I'm sleeping. And like, so you can have a discussion with me and I'll be like, what? And then like, I'll even catch and I'll be like, yeah, I know, I'm dreaming right now. And like, I will be full on dreaming and I'll just go right back into it. And you can have a discussion with me, which isn't necessarily like, I don't know what I say. I know that it happens. So I think there are books available if people want to delve deeper into learning how to like yourself to do this. We don't currently carry any. I think I want to do a little more research before we start ordering which books are the best books for this.
Yeah, there's so many different experts on astral travel and stuff. I think you know, it's got to find the right one. And I think that with anything that you start with, you know, you want to start in moderation and you want to start with baby steps. You don't want to expect to be able to fly to Paris tonight and have a candlelit dinner by the Eiffel Tower. You want to take baby steps and first kind of learn how to come out of your body, how to walk around in your own room and all that stuff.
Right.
And remember that before anything that ever happens, before you pop out, before you do anything, set the intention that of safety, anything that serves your highest good, calling your protection, your guides, your angels, ancestors, known or unknown, whatever it is that you believe, to protect you while you're doing that. But it does, that out-of-body experience does have, you know, really good healing effects on the body, because it's in that space is where you need to go to get what you need. That might be unresolved issues with childhood. That might be, you know, a message from spirit. That might just be the fact of just getting away and relaxing. I encourage looking into it. I just want to pop over to where Chantel says spirit bothers you around 3 o'clock, the witching hour. Chantel, so here's the thing. You have the ability to tell everyone to shut up and to leave you alone.
Yep.
So you have to set the tone and say, you know what? I'm not with the shits tonight, spirit. I want to get some rest. And when you speak that out into existence, they have to respect you. You know, sometimes I will say that sometimes my grandmother will, you know, be a little rude and she still will bother me, but that's my grandmother. She can do that. But as far as everything else, everyone around you, you know, you want to, speak out and say you don't want to do that.
Right. There's a lot of discussions going on about like Pluto in retrograde, which is really a whole nother hour.
Yeah, it's a whole other thing. Johnny, to get over the fear that you're dying is to basically just trust and believe that you're safe and that everything is okay. Trust in your guides, trust in your ancestors, trust in spirit that they're and trust in God, if you believe in God, that they'll keep you safe, and just surrender to something that you can't control.
Call in Archangel Michael to protect you. He's the great protector. He's the patron archangel of protection and safety. You can call in the Blessed Mother to also stand with you and protect you. And surround yourself in white light and just say, like, I am safe, I am grounded, and only allow in the energies, the beneficial energies that are in alignment with my greatest good. And know that you're safe, and just stay grounded, and that'll help. Okay. So the timer is going.
Yeah.
1 minute left, but this has been so much fun, David.
It's cool. I love talking about stuff like this. It's cool. Thank you so much for having me. And you know, you guys, if you guys have any questions, you can feel free to DM me. You can I'll answer your questions. I love, you know, explaining my journey in hopes that it helps inspire your journey. So everyone stay safe and healthy, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you for sharing so vulnerably with us. We love you. And
love you
thank
too.
You everybody for being here with us. We will be here tomorrow with Michelle and Dina talking about working with sigils. Hey! So, and then Friday is the big live sale from the warehouse. So big fun excitement from the Crystal Warehouse.
Can't wait to meet you too. Good night, everyone.
Guys. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.